Hey everyone, good evening. It's Maurice Marathon Panda Lowman, and this is episode 270 of the Cultra Trail Running Podcast.
From the belly of the Beast Coast, Glastonbury, Connecticut, this is the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. We talk about all the fun shit that happens on the trails that most normal people don't care about. The language we use is f***ing explicit and raw like the trails we run on. So don't listen with your kids! No kids. Cultra is brought to you by our patrons and supporters, and we are 112% listener supported, and support is good.
All right. 112%, right? I mean, that's pretty good.
Yep.
That's very good.
Wouldn't you say? All right. My name is Art Byram. I'm your host. Welcome everybody to the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. And I am joined tonight by members of the Cultra Crew. We have Fred Marolo.
I'm here.
Or Hollywood Fred Marolo.
I'm still here, and I'm here with my entourage. Thank you.
Pretty amazing.
Living legend.
Yeah. And then we have Celeste Fong Ding Dong.
Morning, kids.
Who's here on drugs, by the way, I think, right?
Oh.
Yes.
No, she is. In my defense, allergies, severe. Benadryl was taken.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you nod off during the middle of this, that's explaining.
I will probably nod off. I also got up at 10:50 last night because I couldn't sleep. So it's almost been 24 hours awake and I'm on Benadryl. So my apologies in advance.
Okay, well, that's not actually waking up today, though, Celeste. You woke up yesterday.
Yesterday. Living the ultra life.
Yes.
So you're just
menopause
practicing.
for you.
And Benadryl's a humor enhancer. So, we'll have to check with the rules of podcasting and WADA and all sorts of other agencies to find out if it's actually legit and if this podcast will be certified. This episode, it might not count. So we might be doing 270 again next week.
You'll be the Lance Armstrong of humor.
Yeah. Sorry, they're going to take these episodes away from us. We're going to forfeit them. So
I feel bad. I'm going to fail the drug test.
We also have Maurice Lowman, the Marathon Panda, joining us tonight. So I am really excited for that. He's going to eat some. I've never talked to Maurice, and I don't know if I've ever been in the same race as him at the same time. I know we've
you
run.
You had to have, because I've seen him at like 48 races.
I know, but you're just lucky that way, Celeste.
Truth. Yep.
So
true.
So I'm really excited because I've certainly heard about, his reputation precedes him. I've heard about him from a couple different people, our friends over at the runs. And I guess I was listening to now I'm going to fuck it up. The Wandering, no, what was it? The Wandering Runner. Why am I? Somebody.
The Rambling Runner.
Rambling Runner. Thank you. Sorry. Sorry. I should. All right. Should have written that one down. So, yeah. Oh, there you go. Yep. Very good. All right. So first, though, welcome to everybody. And I thought that I'd start with areas of, some common areas here. So, Maurice, are you still on a run streak?
I am. Thanks for asking. Thanks for having me.
Very good. Tell us about your run streak.
So it's pretty cool. It started as a Thanksgiving family table challenge where my son's stepdad actually brought up the idea of me doing a 100-day run streak, and I can't really put it in any other way. I didn't want to come across as being rude or arrogant, and I'm thinking to myself, I kind of already do that, but I wasn't necessarily tracking it. And he was hyping it up, do a 100-day run streak. It'll help keep you accountable. So the first thing I thought of was, I'm a guy, I wanted to kind of one up it. I said, I'll start on the first of the year and I'll do them all outside. So the first question was, well, what are you going to do when it rains? And my obvious answer was, well, anybody can run on a treadmill when it rains. The whole point to make this a run streak worth mentioning is every single run will be outside. So I was immediately faced with what if this? And that made it exciting to get started and to start keeping track. The 100 days turned to 366 because it was a leap year. So I figured I had no choice but to keep it going. So wicked excited to say that January 1st, 2024 will be 8 years of the run streak, never missing a day. And there's a minimum. I have to have at least a mile every day. And I know there's other people that do this. I have all these corny mantras and rhymes that, I'm not the fastest or the strongest, or I dang sure have not been doing this the longest. But positivity plus gratitude equals momentum, and that's the name of the song. So wicked excited and grateful to be able to actually continue the run streak. But I know there's a lot of folks out there that have been doing it a lot longer.
Awesome. That is great. Congratulations. 8 years is that's wonderful. And it's not like you're keeping your run simply to a mile and a half, as we say on the show here. You just as a matter of fact, you just, I guess, finished Daytona 100. Is that right?
Yes, I did, Sunday morning.
Very good. So I want to talk about that a little bit, but first I kind of want to stay on the run streak thing. I got to talk about, I always got to show off my dad, Fred Marolo. So Fred has a almost 40-year run streak with an asterisk. So, with a COVID asterisk, or what did we say? It's a oh God, we had a better name for it than just the asterisk. Fred, what were we calling it?
I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like I had this run streak, and then it got broken, and then I started another one, and that's what it was.
Congrats on the almost 40 years. That's incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
It's
what that means? What that means, Maurice, is that I'm pretty old, like started back in the early 80s.
The fact that you're able to keep it going, that's why I always started off with, I haven't been doing this the longest. There's plenty of folks that have been doing it for a long time. And I'm actually honored to hear and to chat with you about something that's been going on for 40 years. That's incredible.
It's it's an interesting thing. You know what the run streak's like. I mean, there are days that it's not convenient, and you just do it anyway because you hold yourself accountable, right? Like you were saying. So good stuff. I think 8 years is excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is.
You.
That is cool.
I have a couple of friends who did the Daytona 100 this past weekend too. So yeah.
I was so grateful to be out there. There was quite a few awesome runners out there, and I'm just excited to be able to come home with the finish.
I didn't know until they told me that it was a point to point, like from Jacksonville down to Daytona. Is that what it is?
A true point to point. It was amazing.
Wow.
This sounds like a fun race.
Yeah, all of a sudden Celeste and I are like, huh?
It's a true point to point. It's flat. It's on pavement. It's along the beach. I mean, I could go on forever. It was probably one of the most exciting ultra experiences I've had to date.
And the RD is the guy who's the RD for the Keys 100.
Keys 100, correct.
Oh, I've never heard of that one either.
Oh, that's kind of awesome.
I want to do it in 25. I'm signed up for the Riverlands 100 up here in the Northeast in Maine for 2024. So I can't do the Keys in 24, but I'm eyeing it for 25.
Good, huh?
Good stuff.
So how did the run go for you? What was it like?
So the biggest takeaway was it was a really big redemption run for me. It was my 5th attempt at a 100-mile buckle this calendar year, and it was the only buckle that I earned this year. So it went excellent because I finished. The 31-hour cutoff, I beat that. I got in just over 29 hours. I got to share the weekend with my son Malik and his wife Dion, who were also my crew. They joined me for a handful of miles, including the last stretch. And when I say that the organization and the excitement, it was just top notch. It sounds like Fred knows quite a bit about it if he has some friends that have done it. And Fred, have you completed the Keys?
I have not. No, The reason I haven't done it is because every year I've gone to that 3 days at the fair in New Jersey, and I really wanted to do the Keys back about 10 years ago when it was like the third year. I was really interested in doing it, and I just never got there.
Everything that they say about Daytona came true. The aid stations were packed with volunteers that all had ultra running experience, tons of food, tons of hydration, a true point to point with only like 2 left-hand turns on the entire course for 100 miles. And you go through towns and cities that are not shut down for the event, obviously. So you're stopping at a couple of red lights here and there. You're crossing major streets. You're seeing people in the town of St. Augustine, which is a big tourist attraction for being known as America's oldest town. And you're seeing people on like vacation, and they see you with the bib on, and they're asking, you know, what does the 100 mean? And you get to tell them that you're running 100 miles, and they're like, oh my gosh, like
how many days is it going to take you? When do you know?
Right.
How many
I
nights
wouldn't
do you
even drive
sleep?
to Daytona. I don't even want to drive to Daytona, they would say.
Yeah.
God.
But it was so fun, and I love the heat. I love the pavement. I know you guys are the trail running podcast. I'd love to talk about all the trail experience I had this year, because that was just exhilarating as well. But I feel like I have so much experience on pavement, and especially in warm weather, that I was really able to kind of use that as an Operation Zero Excuses mantra. If I walk around town saying this is the stuff that I love, then I better act like I love it, and I better get the job done.
Yeah, right on. So I think that we kind of we do have trail running podcast in our name, but I think that we consider trails to be like just man-made giant rocks, right?
I love it.
I mean, excuse me, roads are basically man-made giant rocks.
Yes.
You know, so yeah, I think we've all run our share of paved experiences, and you know, we enjoy those. I don't know. I'm just like, when it comes to running, I like all kinds. I don't care if it's a 5K. I don't care if it's a 100 mile, 112 miles, roads or trails, whatever it is, I don't, it doesn't at a given point, whether it's cold or warm or whatever, there's like a time for each one of those things, a different kind of challenge, and it's like different types of ice cream, right?
I totally agree. And I've had some close friends of mine ask me if I was going to stick with things like pavement and road running, having faced some serious challenges on the trails. And the answer is no, because I find so much joy in all of it, like you just said. And then we want to do the challenging runs. We don't want to sign up for things that are easy. That's why this sport and community is so awesome, because it allows you to just always discover new limits for yourself, or remove new limits, I should say. And going way back to May of this year with the Riverlands in Maine was a very technical trail for someone like myself, even though I put some time training on some technical trails out here in the Boston, Massachusetts area, the Blue Hills Reservation, and so forth. It just really I was faced with a big challenge, but I absolutely loved it. Made it all the way to mile 80 before I was technically timed out, and I just can't wait to go back again to face that course.
Now, how did you? I'm sure that the main course had a lot of challenges, not the least of which are gators. So, how did you deal with all the alligators on the course?
So in Daytona, I didn't see any alligators. There was one point where
I wouldn't expect you would.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in Maine.
Oh, in Maine, I didn't see any alligators either. There were owls.
They're tricky, right? I mean, they
were probably sleeping. They were sleeping when he went by, probably.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
I saw some owls. I heard some noises. I was with a friend, and she was like, "Bro, this is just the woods at night. Like, don't tell me you've never been in the woods at night." And I get this panda is not too comfortable with wildlife.
Yeah. Oh God! So you heard the gators, but you didn't see them.
Pretty easy.
A couple of
No.
barking coyotes in the night will definitely, make you wonder what the heck's going on, right?
We
I'd
experienced
want to
that
pet them.
in Javelina, and they told me that that they don't come after humans, and I just don't know if that's scientifically proven or whatever.
You
I
don't
mean,
wanna be the
I've
first
tried
human,
to get them
right?
to come after. Like, come here, good puppy. Come here.
Except we'll make an exception today. I mean, that's kind of how it happens. I mean,
Yeah, but
I don't know.
statistically speaking, they're not going to touch you.
They're not.
That's
But
what
here's the
people say,
thing.
but I don't know where those statistics come from.
Like
I
they
think
all, oh, go ahead.
if you're in the middle, I did the Javelina 100 as my very first 100, and one of the things I was scared of was the thought of coming across snakes or coyotes or wolves or whatever the animal was that was out there, and we heard them howling, and I was visibly shooken up and scared, and a couple of the people that were running with me said, "Don't worry, they don't come after humans," and I just had to seriously doubt that. I didn't know if that was a proven statement. And
They only come after pandas, so it's okay.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. The statements are like when your mom says, "Oh, don't worry, they're more afraid of you than you are of them," right before they bite you.
They'll
Right
only
before they
attack
bite
you, and they'll only attack you if you're running, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Don't run away from them.
So if you see them, don't run. And I try to explain to the bears and to the other animals out there, like, listen, I was already fucking running, okay? I'm not running because you're here. I was already running, so it doesn't count. Oh my gosh.
That usually works, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
it is kind of like that's a weird situation. I went for a run the other night, and just a deserted trail. I probably already told this story. Out by the river on a trail that just like nobody goes on. This is just like the leaves are there, and you can see probably somebody ran there maybe 3 days ago. And just all of a sudden there's coyotes in front of me, to the side of me, and behind me. And
Wow.
so like
babies.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. But then you go, and then you kind of look, and you can see that they're kind of coming with me. So like
you didn't bring a single one home.
I know. I did try. So they follow you, and they want to escort you out of their territory, apparently. But I don't know. It just like it's kind of creepy knowing.
I would have been very scared.
Yeah, because like I don't know if they're like, maybe they've been like, we know that dogs will attack people, right? And these coyotes are probably hanging out with dogs, so maybe they've been talking to the dogs, and the dogs are like, "Fuck, let me tell you about this. You see people, man. You can just like, you go after them. It's kind of fun. You should try it here.
You should try it."
I'll
the other day, my dogs attacked Fred's film crew. So,
wow,
they really did.
Celeste, I heard they were
they
vicious.
did.
They're vicious babies. Yes, Bear
They're like
demanded
half the size of my cats. I think right?
They're smaller. Bear demanded to sit on the lap and get pet for like 2 hours straight.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's
shits.
Jeez. So Maurice, from what I understand, you're generally not like, okay, so if people talk in general about runners, so like, okay, like road runners, generally very serious, on the road, paying attention to their pace, might say, like in the first mile, people might say, good morning or something like that. And then after that, it's like all business, right? And but from what I understand, you don't exactly fit into that mold, right? Like you're usually, from what I understand, like you're usually pretty, like if everybody else is at like a 5, you're at like an 11.5 or maybe 112.5.
Yeah,
So,
I think more towards 112. So
yeah,
I really like the way you put that. I'm the anti all business. And we can touch on that in a couple of different ways. I do respect the race. I respect the community. I respect the distance. I respect everything about the sport. And I realized after maturing quite a bit in the sport and community that if you want to perform and actually race a race and chase down a PR in a time, then you do kind of have to know how to dial it in. 99% of the time, I'm embracing the role as a community cheerleader, and I'm yelling, I'm screaming, all positive stuff, all great job, you look awesome, you're effing awesome, great job today, you're going to get this done. 13.1 for breakfast, 26.2 for breakfast. It's only a 50K. We only have 39 we only have 39 miles left. Let's go. This is what we woke up for. And I cannot tell you enough how rewarding it is for me to have some of that energy reciprocated, or to have somebody that is competing at a high level that's doing, maybe you're doing an out and back half marathon or an out and back or a 2-loop marathon or something like that. And you see these men and women that are competing at a high level, and they are all business, and they are like maybe just a wave, and they're not interested in giving out a high five and screaming back and stuff. But they've approached me after the race and said, you know, your hype and your positivity really pushed me through the last 3 miles. I can't thank you enough. And that, I'll carry that with me for months, literally. That type of, I appreciate it. I thrive off of it. I say the same thing all of the time. I'm never going to win a marathon. You should never use the word never. I think I came in second once at a half marathon because not that many people showed up. But you know what I'm saying. You're right. When it comes to road running, it's usually what's my pace, what's my PR. I'm all business. I'm out here to get the job done. And I have had days where I've gone out there to perform just business-like. But for the most part, I'm in it for the fun. I'm in it for the community. I'm in it to let you know that, like, I'm wicked grateful to be out here. You should be too. And if you like high fives and hugs, I'm going to stop and give you a whole bunch of them. We can do selfies too. And I've had all of the feedback, positive and negative, with people saying, you know, you should stop the high fives and selfies. You'd probably, you know, shave a few minutes off of your time. Once again, I'm not going for an OTQ over here. So 4:11 or a 4:07 to me in a marathon, or a 3:50 to a 3:54 is not going to make or break my day or my mood. So I do like to stop for the selfies. I love the high fives. And that's my thing. My whole mantra is high fives and positive vibes. So the way I look at it is I have to be what I say I am.
What about a 3:57 to a 4:06? You're okay with like, you know, going into the next hour to enjoy
Fred, is this your cross-examination here?
Yeah,
I object, Your Honor. That's leading the witness. It's just preposterous.
I'm just trying to
in perpetuitous dribble drabble lawyerly.
You're going to be in the 3s, right? But you would be in the 4s if you screwed around a little extra. But would you want to, like, kind of, you know?
I think it'd be harder if it was like a 4:01 or a 4 and 3 seconds or something like that, where it mattered, right? Like,
yeah.
If you're going to be 7 minutes over, that's a big over. So it doesn't, I don't know, for me.
Right.
Also, I've never cared about time, so who am I to say?
See?
And nobody gives a shit about time, right? Nobody cares.
No, the people you meet at parties and stuff are very interested in your time, Art. You should discuss it with them in great detail.
They need to hear about every mile.
Yeah. Yes.
Gotcha. Well, we do talk about that a lot. So
that's how I get people to leave me alone. I talk about running.
I ran today and they all go, shh. Right?
They want to know.
If you don't want to hear about my running, you're not my peeps. Bye.
No, and then you have to go graduate level shit is when you can get your wife or your husband to paddle your douche canoe for you. You know, that's when you know you've arrived. Like when you show up, when you walk up to a group of people that you know, I've walked up to a group of people with my wife's talking to them, and she's like, and they're like, "You ran 100 miles?"
That's awesome. And you are exactly right. When the story precedes you, it's really cool.
And it's like, fuck, I just want to, like, can't I, like, talk about, like, I don't know, like, let's talk about, like,
Elevators.
baseball or something.
Or
Elevators.
Elevators. Yeah. Something interesting.
Something that has its ups and downs.
Oh
right?
God. Yeah. Please tell me that joke.
Oh, Fred.
No, Fred, that's like the I can't drive that far.
Yeah, I know.
Business.
That's like the kindergarten level of elevator joke.
Oh, hey Fred, how do you tell when an attorney's lying? This is a great one. You're not going to guess this.
Oh, I never heard that.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh. So, Maurice, so tell us your running story. Like, when did you start? Or actually, I'm sorry. I want to scrap that question because that's like what everybody fucking asks.
Just say withdrawn.
Yeah, withdrawn. Oh, thanks, Fred.
Withdrawn.
Withdrawn, Your Honor.
Yes.
With prejudice. Withdrawn with. Strike that from the record. I have to tell our AI, please strike those comments from the record in our minutes.
That was so official.
Yeah. So I'd like to go back before then, because like how you started running that's always an interesting crossroads, right? I like talking about crossroads in people's lives. Let's talk about like, where were you born and maybe you could tell us about that. Like, where did you grow up?
Grew up in East Providence, Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
Born and raised. Public school, lots of youth athletics. One younger brother, awesome parents. Just was never that good at youth athletics. I love to play baseball. I love basketball. I love football, but I never excelled in any of those sports. So the running community embraces the average Joe.
Gotcha. So, what was your identity as a kid growing up? Like when they said, "Oh, there's Maurice," he's kind of, how would that sentence go? Like what was your identity? Would you say?
I would like to consider myself pretty charismatic, always talking, very outgoing, known to be a talker. I used to think I was pretty stylish, but only in my own world. So I'm not sure if anybody else agreed with that.
That's great.
But I used
stylish
to think
in your own world. Okay.
Yeah,
a self-described snappy dresser.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know if corduroy paisley shirts count as being stylish.
I like that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's like a boss right there.
Yeah. And I don't know, I was always proud of being biracial, and I liked all kinds of different music. So I never really fit into a certain cliquey group. And my friend group we were a mix of everything that you could imagine. So it was just we weren't really outcasts, but we weren't the athletes, and we weren't really the most. I mean, I did excel with academics throughout junior high and high school, but I didn't really hang with that crowd. So I was kind of just always going to the, not to sound too cliche, but just always going to the beat of my own drum, and just very confident with who I was at a young age.
Gotcha. What were your parents like then?
Pretty laid back as far as not strict about the important things, like school, making sure I was home on time, making sure I did my homework, making sure I was polite, and things like that. But very supportive. I feel like me, now that I'm older and I'm able to appreciate these things, my brother and I were pretty spoiled growing up. We got the things that we asked for, and we had a good upbringing. So it was,
so you have one brother, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And what was, generally, although I think that most people can do a lot of different things. A lot of times siblings tend to stake their own ground or do that, is he very different than you, or what's
that's a cool question. And yeah, he was very self-taught, musically inclined, could play the drums, the electric guitar, could read and write music, where that stuff was just so far out of my wheelhouse. I think I mentioned quickly that I thought that I was like a cool dancer, but I might have been the only one that thought that. And my
I'm getting Elaine Bennis vibes here, right?
yeah, I mean, I was a stylish dancer in my own little world. Um, I got into like the DJing for a little while, and like as a high school age kid, and I had like professional DJ equipment. I even went to like a couple of parties and was like the party DJ. But that career never took off, to say the least.
Did you have a name?
Oh, thank you, Fred. That's my question. That's what we need to know. What would you were?
It varied from like DJ Mo One to like DJ Chaos. I think I was always trying to incorporate like these hip hop like cultural things, like as far as graffiti and stuff. And I was like Sneak One or Chaos or yeah, DJ Unique. I think I tried to roll with for a while.
All right, good. You hadn't brought out the Panda thing yet, though, right?
No, the Panda hadn't come out yet.
Now, that was a family moniker, right? I mean, that was something where is that right? Maybe you could tell us a story of
yeah. So
there's a lot of dimensions to that symbolism and things like that. Maybe you could kind of talk about that some.
So as a toddler, my grandmother gave me my first panda bear stuffed animal, or my first stuffed animal, I should say. And I never wanted to go anywhere without it. I loved that panda bear. I grew up loving panda bears. It was like my favorite animal. I would get National Geographics and the posters, and I just was always very interested in that animal. And then my grandmother used to tell me that I would be a runner when I grew up because I had strong legs. And I was into biking, BMX bikes and mountain biking as a kid. And I just never grasped that. And having gone away from youth athletics, not being, talented enough to do like high school sports or anything, I never got into track and field. And I never really grasped what that meant as far as you're going to be a runner. So fast forward years into life, my grandmother was no longer with us. I used running as like a go-to activity when I was trying to do something positive and healthy with my lifestyle, but I was never consistent with it. When I got serious about about being healthy and about my wellness, and especially about my sobriety, I started running super consistently. And then when I got into like the social media community, I kind of wanted this image for myself. And I thought of the panda, and that's where it came from. And I like to say it's because of being obsessed with that animal as a kid, also because I've always been a little chubby. I'm half black, I'm half white, so it just kind of fit. And I literally ran with it.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, that is a great symbol there. And so were you close to your grandmother then, or?
We were very close, and I have all positive memories as far as like her always teaching to like, she really tried to instill in us the non-judgment and to be kind to everybody, to spread love, to never judge. And, things could always be worse, to kind of always focus on like, you do really have something good going on, even when something bad is going on. So those were the memories that I have with her. And she had seen me hit, some speed bumps in my life, and was just always there for me with no judgment.
Gotcha. So I want to ask you about being biracial. So was that ever, I guess like I would imagine there's two sides to that. Like one is that you can kind of fit in with a lot of people, and that the flip side of that is that some people might find that it's harder to, that it's hard to find a place where you fit in more. I'm not saying that exactly right, but I think, kind of the opposite of that. What was your experience like with that? Was that something that was any kind of an issue or a non-issue for you, or what did that look like?
So I really like and appreciate that question. You kind of touched on it already. It was easy for me to kind of fit into both things. I always like to kind of paint the picture. When I played Pop Warner football, some of my friends made fun of me for having like Def Leppard and Guns N' Roses jean jackets, where other friends made fun of me for having like a Run DMC sweatshirt. So I liked the hip hop, I liked the hard rock. I liked both of those groups of friends. I never really thought that I had to associate with only one. And then it was easy for me to kind of, to be in both crowds. And then the only times where it would face as a problem of not being able to fit in, and the reason why I appreciate the question is part of my story is overcoming some really dark times, including, drug addiction, being homeless, being in prison. And there was times in prison where it did play a big role, because if you're not accepted by a certain group, then it causes for some isolation and for some fear. And in one experience in particular where I literally was not fitting in with any of the groups because the Hispanics thought this guy must speak Spanish. He's like us. And when they found out that I couldn't, and I never like to, if I'm using the wrong terminology, it's never to offend anybody when I tell my stories. So when they found out that I couldn't speak Spanish, I wasn't welcome in their group. Wasn't dark-skinned enough to be with, a lot of the dark-skinned Black folks. And then the white folks knew that I wasn't white. So it did face what is this guy? Where is he from? What's his story? And it was only in one experience, because in other experiences, it was more of like a melting pot, non-judgmental situation where you were not judged by the color of your skin or your ethnicity. This was one experience, a 9-month period of time where I really had to explain myself and kind of make make my it worked out well, because I was able to earn the respect of some fellow inmates because I helped them with some computer work. So that's how I earned their respect, and they got to know that I was actually a good guy.
Good. Thank you for for talking about that and kind of giving us some insight there. So I'm in recovery myself. I had I got sober when I was 18. Up until then, I was, heavy drinking, just like on a path towards like a life that was going to go nowhere, robbing drug dealers,
Wow.
all sorts of shit, thinking that I was going to go to hell, and why bother with life, because like I've already crossed that line and I'm just a bad person that's just got no hope. So, some things happened in my life that, where I hit bottom and got sober, mostly through the loss of life from some other people, that
Wow.
I was, people who were very close to me got killed, and it kind of allowed me to have that, the spiritual awakening, and the, I guess really, there's no other way to describe it except as a miracle, because it wasn't really going to happen, but it did, and so I don't know. I thought maybe, so were you in the substance abuse prior to going to jail, or was that part of the whole thing? Or
yeah, so thank you for sharing that part of your story, and congrats on the continued sobriety.
Thank you.
My jail time was always associated with alcoholism and substance abuse. There's no other way.
I figured it. I figured it was.
I wasn't just out there breaking the law for fun. It was always drug and alcohol related. I got into substance abuse after high school. I always like to kind of paint the picture that I was the kid in school that was like, I'm never going to do drugs. That's for losers. got into some and once again, I'm not a medical professional, but my story is marijuana was the gateway drug, alcohol was the gateway drug. Once I started experimenting with those two consistently, it opened the doors to wanting to experiment with everything else. I was introduced to street level drug dealing with cocaine, and I said I would never touch that substance. But I was making money on the street selling it, saying that I would never use it because that's a line I would never cross. And here I am, a kid that grew up in the suburbs, that always had a full-time job, always was, a natural hustler mindset, always wanted to make my own money in a positive way, got into sales and computers at a young age. I went to a computer tech school after high school, even though I had already started experimenting with alcohol and marijuana. I got into the computer tech school. I graduated that program. I got into a sales position. So I always wanted to work and make my own money, but here I am trying to make money on the streets as well. And that lifestyle was so fast paced, and so I was addicted to it immediately. And it only lasted less than a calendar year before I started using cocaine. And then that was the drug that really brought me down. And I struggled with cocaine abuse for over 8 to 10 years of just being a functional alcoholic drug addict, always having a full-time job and always telling everybody some crazy story as to why things weren't this way and things were this way. And then that drug abuse escalated into crack cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and, some unintentional overdoses, jail time, attempts at rehab, and so forth. So after a few failed attempts at long-term sobriety, in 2015, was the last time I ever picked up a drink or a drug. So that's why I'm here today to chat with you.
Yes. I love it. Love it. That's great. And that's and thank you for letting us know about that. Now, we know that there's going to be people out there who are maybe they're struggling with something themselves, and that sort of thing. What would you say to somebody, who might be, kind of struggling with substance abuse?
So I always I'm very grateful that I always had the self-awareness that I had a problem. So for example, we backtrack, I'm 22 years old. I'm working full-time as a car salesman. I'm making good income, but I'm struggling with alcohol, marijuana, and cocaine. I walked into a local Kodak and said, here's my health insurance card. My name's Maurice. I have a drug problem. I need help. I wasn't ready to completely surrender, obviously, but I knew I had a problem. I would try to go to counseling. I would try to go to group meetings, and I just never stuck with it. Even when I hit my lows, I always knew that I had a problem and that it would be fixed if I stopped using. I did get to the point where others around me probably looked at my situation as hopeless. Because I'm in my 30s now, making the same mistakes, going to jail for 6 months at a time, 9 months at a time, where most grown men would learn from those mistakes the first time it happened. And I'm going back to it. Once again, always knowing that if I stopped using, I could have a better life. So to talk to somebody right now that's struggling, I'd like to drive home the point that there's always hope. It's not going to be an easy road, but the very first step is to stop using, to stop picking up. Doors will open. People will help. Days do get better. The first day is going to absolutely suck. The second day is going to suck, but it gets better. I can remember putting down the drugs for that time in March of 2015, and I held on to the liquor bottle for 2 days because I was like, I just wasn't ready to give it up. And then that third day, I said, that's it. I'm never going back to eat to any of it. But so it's not easy. The first step is always going to be the hardest. It's not easy to just say something cliche like ask for help and you'll get it. You have to really want to stop using. But in order to want to stop using, you have to know that there's always hope. And I love sharing my story. I love shining the light on the fact that long-term recovery is possible, and that no matter, like, I was at the point where friends and family gave up hope and would not give out a lending hand, that would not let me crash on their couch, would not accept my phone call. So if somebody's out there and is struggling and thinks that there is no hope, there is always hope. I read a quote today: wherever there's life, there's hope. So if you're still breathing, there's hope for a better life. You just have to stop using. And day one could be today, could be tomorrow.
Wow. Yeah, that is an awesome message right there. It is tough to reach that point where you're willing to even admit that you have a problem,
Right.
and admit that you're powerless over it and that you can't control it, because then it is an overpowering thing. Like, shit, if I say that, that means that it's like saying I'm going to run 100 miles publicly. I mean, except it's a lot fucking worse than that. But when you make that admission and to yourself or to anybody else, it's like saying, once you say that, then it's like the idea is that, like, you feel like, at some point you feel like, hey, I got to do something about this. Right. And then, a lot of times it seems inconceivable, like, especially for somebody who's inactive, is actively using, because probably all the people that you talk to, or a large percentage of them, are people who drink and do drugs or do whatever you're doing. And it's like, God, are they gonna, like, what's my life gonna look like without this?
Right. And that's where I was. I was so far gone that my daily routine consisted of drinking, smoking crack cocaine, smoking cigarettes, just chasing that lifestyle, working at dead end bar positions. So there's some pretty dark corners of addiction that I've been in, including, working at different nightclubs and just doing things that you normally wouldn't do in any other situation other than to try to make drug money. And it was, I knew that I had a problem, but it was almost an impossible thought to think that I was going to change my lifestyle. You are right. All of the people around me were actively using. Nobody was like, hey, I can't wait to go to a meeting next week. Yeah. I can't wait to get clean and sober. But I had the thought that, because I had a taste of it before, I knew there was a good life out there for me. If I stepped in the right direction and continued to step in the right direction. It is extremely difficult. And that's why I always like to talk about the gratitude piece of it, that I'm so grateful that I knew, hey, you need to stop. Like, there's no future in you continuing to smoke crack cocaine every day. You're going to die. You're literally killing yourself. I had dreams of being a consistent marathon runner and getting back into the sales industry and being successful. But here I was, homeless, addicted to drugs, no driver's license. So, like, they were like dreams to me. Most people's dreams aren't to become a car salesman, but because I was in such a low position, that was my vision. That was my drive. I was like, I can get out of this position and get back to doing something I love, but I have to put the drugs down. And when I did, it was a long road, but I'm so grateful that I'm here to be able to tell the story, and that I was able to take those steps and continue on that road.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, stopping is the key to it, because like, you know, a lot of times people have thought like, oh yeah, if I could just control like how much I drink or how much I'm doing this, or that's what I was looking at, you know, and that half measures, you know, trying to, um, you know, just, I don't really want to take, I really don't, I know I have to fucking stop and that I have no choice, but I still want to find a way around, like, I still want to find a shortcut and a way to not do it that way.
Well,
You
look
know?
at my story. It took me years to realize that there is no part time. Like I was that guy that thought I could control it. I was
Mm-hmm.
literally, 30 something years old, throwing away 6 months of clean time, 9 months of clean time. One time I threw away almost 3 years of clean time, thinking I could control my partying, thinking it's only going to be a little bit of whiskey. It's only going to be a little bit of cocaine. I'm not going to go back to smoking crack. I'm not going to go back to putting a needle in my arm. I'm not going to go back to prison. I'm not going to go back to being homeless. And things spiral out of control completely. I mean, I've lost jobs, apartments, and relationships and everything, thinking that I could control my addiction.
So what was the final bottom or the final turning point for you?
It being in my mid 30s and being on the street without a place to call home, working at a nightclub / bar, and knowing that I had a beautiful family out there that wanted me to be around. So that's another thing I'm very grateful for. My mom never gave up hope on me. My son and his family, I have 2 adult sons, and my son that's here in Rhode Island, him and his family never gave up hope on me. They would always encourage me and tell me, we're here, we love you. So there were so many factors where I just knew that all I had to do was stop using. So I'm always so, I can't say the word grateful enough, because not everybody has that. That's why I'm so passionate about speaking about it, because if you don't have that, things will still fall into place. You can still have an awesome life, but the number one step is to stop using. And if you don't think you have a problem and you're using drugs every day, then that's a problem, because you do. You do have a problem. And there was a time where I was underneath a billboard in South Providence, Rhode Island, and we were doing just like anything we could get our hands on. There was no more alcohol, no more crack. Somebody was crushing up pills, trying to put them in a needle. There was like a little bit of dope around to sniff, and I think we had smoked crack a few minutes earlier. And I'm looking at the cars on the highway thinking, those are real people doing real things. They're living a real life. They're driving home. They're going to see their family. They might be taking their kids out to dinner tonight. They might be planning a vacation for their family next month. That's the life that I want. That's the life I could have. But look at what I'm doing and look at where I am. And it was like just like something went over me and was like, you have to stop. And it was that night that I literally had drugs in my pocket, threw them on the ground, or I gave them to somebody, and they were like dumbfounded that I was passing out drugs. I kept the bottle with me. I kept the cigarettes with me. And I walked to a place where I knew there was a good chance I could crash on the couch and there would be no drug use there. And that was the first weekend of not using drugs. And then that Monday morning, I never picked up a bottle again.
Very good. Very good. Wow. That's quite a story. And the fact that you're such a positive force in our community now is just all the much better, because I think, if you compare that to where you were and where you are today, and what you're bringing to other people. I mean, just the story that you shared right now, there's going to be somebody who's going to listen to that. And I would think that's going to plant a seed for somebody out there. I can guarantee you that. So
I appreciate you letting me share it. I really do. It means a lot. And to tie it all together, I touched on it before. the running was always my go-to activity. So if I had a bad night of drinking and I didn't want to feel like dog crap the next morning, I'd go for a run. I was just never consistent with it. When I got into a program at one point in 2008, I couldn't leave the property for 3 months, and I would run in the parking lot every day, and that was my activity. So I mean, there was Bible studies and stuff going on, and guys were lifting weights and stuff like that. But I wanted to run, and I'll never forget there was a woman there that volunteered, and she asked me, you know, a little bit about myself and my story, and I told her I really loved running, and I had a dream of running a marathon. And this was before I even knew the significance of qualifications and charity teams and the Boston Marathon and all of that. I just wanted to run a marathon, specifically the Boston Marathon. And she told me that, so to not get too far off track, a few Saturdays later, I was still running in the parking lot, and she pulls me to the side, and she said she had something for me. And it was a brand new pair of Asics running sneakers. She said that her and her husband had been talking about me for a few weeks, and they decided to buy me this gift. He was a retired track coach from a local high school, a former marathon runner, also sober. And she knew that I was in this men's program trying to make a better life for myself. And she said, this is going to help you to keep running, and we wanted to give this to you. And it was just such a, like a wow moment. Like somebody's not only recognizing me for being sober, but for running. And here's a gift from a complete stranger. And it was just like a wow, here's a door opening that has never been opened before. And it just touched me so, I don't know how to put it into words. It really catapulted my passion for, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be clean. I'm supposed to be sober. I'm supposed to be running.
Yeah.
And then when I got involved with the community of running, having that, finding other people like yourself who's sitting there sharing their story with me, who also loves to run, who also loves to run ultras. When I did my very first half marathon, getting those first high fives and seeing people, other adults that love to do something positive with their life, I was immediately hooked. So the community is what saved me. The consistency in the running is what saved me. And it's literally the foundation to my sobriety.
Yeah, there's something about when you go for a run, you know, you can be all fucked up beforehand, and something about going for a run and just the way that when I finish a run, quite often I feel like I belong in the world. I feel like I'm part of, like I'm the animal that I should be, you know, that I'm like, I don't know. It kind of sets things right. Now, I mean, running is good for that. Now it's not, and it can also help work out some problems. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call it a, substitute for therapy or anything like that, you know, but it is, it definitely can, adjust my mood. You know, it's a mood altering activity, no doubt.
It's cool that you say that. And I've read some things about that recently, and I never want to, running shouldn't replace therapy. And I always say the same thing. Like, I'm not some medical professional. I go to therapy now, and I enjoy it, and I appreciate it. And I feel like I still have so many areas to grow in. But the running is such a positive piece that you can use to clear your mind, to feel good about yourself, to help you with self-esteem. You shouldn't run away from your problems. I feel like running gives you an opportunity, if you would like to run towards your problems and to face them, and to give you the strength and the confidence to face them.
Right.
I've been reunited with my other adult son, because of running. And it's just crazy phenomenal story. And if it wasn't for running, I wouldn't have that. And I just always felt that we would be reconnected someday. And now we're reconnected with running, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange, the connections that, that we make through this, through this all. And, it's really like, I always look at, there's so many things in life that try to fucking hammer us into the ground, right? Like,
Right.
just like entropy, things that just want to like fuck with us and push us around and like, but running is like, it's like a miracle. It kind of goes against the grain of like, erosion and entropy and things trying to wind us down. It's it builds us up, and I always, it's maybe I'm getting a little fucking wacky doodle here, but
No, not at all.
But if you look at, like, somebody said, okay, what's, the proof of existence of God is, God is the antithesis of entropy. It's when, like, we know everything is fucking winding down and going from the organized to the disorganized. And yet in some cases there's love, and like, why, and in some cases there's, we're able to all of a sudden get stronger and be out on a run and not know our name, and then all of a sudden get our shit together and run and like do something that we had no business doing through the help of others. Lots of times other people are helping us do these things, and it's a I don't know, it's just a I guess, like, is a guy powered by Pop-Tarts, Jeffer says, we get to do this.
We do. We're the lucky
It is a
ones.
gift to be able to do all this stuff.
We're the lucky ones that get to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Celeste, we've been kind of yapping away here. You have anything to jump in on that? So
no, I just appreciate being able to hear these stories. And I'm grateful that you guys are willing to share, because I think it's important to show. Yeah, my mind is shot. Sorry. I don't want to say weakness. It's not weakness, but vulnerability. It's, to show that we are vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's an important lesson that we all need to learn in order to persevere and to get through that. But I do think too, which I've said before, I think if we do this kind of extreme stuff, there's got to be some kind of trauma in our past, right? And there's got to be something about running that helps us heal. If that makes sense.
It is hope, right?
It makes a lot of sense. And they show the statistics, or they show the studies all the time. So many people in this community that you meet have overcome something. And I'm very quick to talk about myself and my story. And I overcame addiction, and I run marathons, and now I run ultra marathons, and my name's Maurice. But we all have stories. We're all getting out there and running for a reason, not necessarily running from something, but running for something. Maybe it's to overcome grief. Maybe it's to overcome depression. Maybe it's to overcome family loss. Maybe it's just for general fitness, but we all have stories. And that's why I love the frigging sport and community so much, because it just allows you to be yourself and to share your story. And people actually frigging care. And you can help others, and you can meet people that will help you. And I have a mentor in my life that always says, the friends we meet along the way, and you can't put it in a better way. You meet so many cool individuals and so many beautiful, awesome humans that you realize that there is an awesome life worth living. And for my story, it is overcoming addiction. So all of that helps me to never want to go back, because I never want to lose this piece. I never want to not be the guy at the local half marathon giving you a high five. I never do not want to be the guy that's like chasing some crazy ultra goal that once seemed impossible, but now seems possible because of the time and the consistency that I've put into this. So it's just it's very special. I am vulnerable. I'm vulnerable to being self-conscious, to falling back into addiction, to all of those things, and to embrace the maturity, the growth, and the sobriety aspects of this is just it's something I'm super grateful for.
Right on. Yeah, there's a lot to that. I think like the part of being vulnerable is that like ultimately everybody is vulnerable, and either you're vulnerable, and if you think you're not, you're probably just in fucking denial.
Well, that's it, right?
and if you I don't know, like I honestly think that like everybody's got some kind of trauma in their lives that like I don't know, I just think that they do, and even if it's a and I think it's all relative, and I think people get just this triggered and fucked up over things that are not on paper, at least, as big as issues that other people have dealt with, but still are very, I don't know. It seems like it doesn't care. It kind of self-adjusts, to fuck you up and to have you, to knock you off your game if you're not careful. And one of the beautiful things you mentioned about running is that like it gives you some hope there too, because like you're doing something that's difficult by choice. So that's, first of all, a very safe way to do that. And it makes you so mindful because you're able to just, get in touch with that little bit of pain, and sometimes that lot of pain, and have no hope, and just know that like, okay, how many times, I don't know if it happens to you, but I'll run along and I'm like, yep, I just start practicing my concession speech. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, guys, it just wasn't my day today. I didn't quite know, it wasn't going to be, I gave it my best shot, and I kind of have this whole thing planned out. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm fucking doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm like a superstar athlete or any bullshit like that, even though I'll like, I have fun playing around with being Art fucking Byram, but it's just like I just view it as a miracle of running, and I've seen it a bunch of times, people go from not knowing their name to, to blazing out 12-minute miles. So
right. They're blazing when they're at the end of an ultra. And I did the same thing this past weekend, where I was literally mentally and emotionally searching for a way to write this off as another, I didn't make it. And I said, you know what? You're not going to come home with an excuse. You're going to come home with a result. And there is no excuse. So stop looking for them. You're out here. Everything's going well, and you're going to keep going, because you hit these lows, and if you've completed the 100s, you hit these lows where you don't know how you're going to make it the next 5 or 10 miles, never mind 30 or 40. And I was literally searching for an excuse, and I had to immediately stop that mindset and say, there is no excuse. There's only a result out here for you.
Yeah.
It's like Yoda.
Yeah. You feel like you're your own Yoda when you're out there.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Exactly.
Yes. Wow. Well, this has been awesome. So, Maurice, I have to ask you a couple questions now. And,
please do.
Yeah. So, you've done some running out there, and have you ever been out there running and you get a song stuck in your head? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, maybe like Vanilla Ice or MC Hammer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how does that get?
My playlists are pretty boring. They consist of like 90s hip hop and some like new trashy hip hop and a lot of pop and some reggae, and so I get some songs stuck in my head.
I don't know, Maurice. I think Ice Ice Baby might be grounds for a DNF. If you
it could. So
So he shouts out A1A Beachfront Avenue. So when I found out that the Daytona 100 was literally on A1A Beachfront Avenue, I was chanting that. Yeah, okay. It's a good song.
And all you wanted was Ice Ice Baby, right?
Exactly.
Holy shit. That's like, see, once again, the miracle of running, people. So let me ask you, so when you get these songs stuck in your head, sometimes it's a positive thing and sometimes it can start to really get to you, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do when you get a song stuck in your head?
So songs to me always go back to like a memory. So if it's a bad memory, then like if it's from like a breakup or just like, a bad time in my life, I use it as like fuel, like almost like I'll try to turn it into like an anger, but I'm not an angry person. But when I'm running, I need to kind of be angry to continue to get past that rough spot. So if it's a song that I'm like, I never really am in a situation where I'm trying to get a song out of my head. But if there's a song in my head that brings me to a bad place, then I use that as like motivation.
We don't need no water. Let the motherfucker burn.
That's right.
Burn, motherfucker. Okay. So what if I told you, Maurice? What if I told you that there was a way to help get the song out of your head? Like,
tell me.
Well, no, if there was a podcast that could assist with that.
I'd have to tune in.
You would. So I actually, I'm fortunate today to be able to let you know about one such method of getting songs stuck out of your head. And that is the Cultra Karaoke hotline.
Okay.
So we have a phone line set up that's where if you're feeling like you have a song stuck in your head and you want to get that song out of your head, all you do is you call this number and then you sing the song on the voicemail, and then we get the song and we play it on the podcast. And what happens is that you sing the song and it instantly gets out of your head because you sang the song, right? And it feels complete now. So you're ready to move on. And we get the song and we get to play it on the podcast. And then you get to become podcast famous.
I love it.
So now it's not just any phone number, because it can be hard to remember a number as you're running along the road, right?
Okay.
So we have our own number set up, a special number for this. And it's 203 Dog Gent, like a gentleman dog. 203 Dog Gent. So
got it.
You have to just visualize the gentleman dog. So,
okay.
So can you picture what a gentleman dog looks like?
I can.
You can. So what is
Gruff the crime dog with the top hat?
Okay.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, that works.
All right. That's great. Yeah. So I actually have a call tonight. I'd like to play. We had somebody call into our Cultra Karaoke hotline. So I haven't listened to this. So this could be, what do we say, Fred? I need like a good lawyerly disclaimer shit right now, Fred.
Void where prohibited.
What's that?
Void where prohibited.
Void where prohibited. Subject to errors and omissions.
Subject to errors and omissions. Many will play, few will win.
That's right. Any resemblance to songs, we copyright infringements or,
right.
Full
disclaimer.
General disclaimer. Don't sue us. Okay, so I'm going to play this song here, hopefully, and we'll see what we got. Let's see.
So these guys were painting my house, and they're playing the same song over and over again, and I have to get it out of my head. So here it goes. I feel a bad poop coming. I feel trouble from behind. Don't come around tonight. It won't be a pretty sight. Wait, hold up. There's a bathroom on the right. Fuck this lock. No, it's locked. Damn it. Damn.
All right. Very good. A very tolerable rendition there, wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah, that sounded tolerable.
That's great. So yeah, good. Creedence Clearwater Revival there. Knockoff. There's a bathroom on the right. So
A locked bathroom, apparently.
Yeah.
Somewhere John Fogerty just felt a grave disturbance in the force, probably.
He did. He just rolled over.
Yeah.
So anybody out there, if you're running along and you get a song stuck in your head, call 203 Dog Gent and the Cultra Karaoke hotline, and you too can be podcast famous.
The other day,
thank you guys very much for that call. That was great.
My wife had a song stuck in her head, and I said, "Why don't you call 203 Dog Gent?" And she was like, "God, no, I'm not going to sing and have them play my voice on the podcast." I was like, "Missing your chance. You could be famous."
She could have been podcast famous. So, great.
Very nice. Can I say something about
please,
Maurice's story? Maurice, I have a lot of people in my family who struggled with addiction. And one of the things that I've noticed is that if they were crappy people when they were drinking or drugging, they would get sober and they'd still be crappy people. They'd just be sober, crappy people. I find your story, it's interesting because you seemed like you were saying that you were kind of charismatic back before you got sober. And now you just now that's amplified 10 times because now you're sober. It seemed like your story is a very charismatic story. I like to hear that.
Thank you for recognizing that and for saying that.
Yeah, that's that is cool.
I used to take pride in being the wrong Maurice, and I'm very grateful to be on the right side of the tracks and to be charismatic in the right settings now.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it. I appreciate that. Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I had heard just legends of Anchor Down Ultra, and just heard that you just lit that place up a couple times as well.
Round 3 next year, baby.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Round 3.
Wow.
Yes. Same. Which one are you doing? 24?
24. If there was a 30, I'd sign up for that one.
Yeah. Same.
So I got 90 my first attempt, 80 my second attempt. So this year the goal is 100. Hopefully 102.
Nice.
I just figured out that in the same 10-week span, I have the Cut 112, Notch View, and Anchor Down.
I love it.
Sounds like a good summer.
10 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
that sounds like a very good summer.
Yeah.
Has Notch View opened up yet?
No. Unless it just happened.
So
Notch View?
Yes.
July. When is it in July?
What state?
Oh, Massachusetts.
It's in Pittsfield.
Near Pittsfield. Pittsfield.
Yeah.
So Celeste, when that starts to happen, you're gonna wake me up and say, "Hey, Art, hey, stop chasing that squirrel, Mr. ADHD. We need to sign up."
Okay, New Year's official day and time will be posted soon, but I think they're going to do January 1st.
For registration?
For registration, yeah. And the event is July 12th through 15. So they have the 72, 48, 24, 12, and 6, I believe.
Nice.
12th through 17th?
12th through 15.
15th.
Yeah.
It's not like 3 days at the fair for 6 days.
No. Maurice, you'll like this one.
For 4 days. Notchview. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. You haven't done Notchview yet, have you, Maurice?
I've never done it. No, I haven't heard of it, so I'm going to look it up.
It's phenomenal. It's a 1.9 mile loop. Technically, it's trail, but it's not technical. It's not more technical than Anchor Down Trail section.
Okay.
It's you go through fields. It's stunningly beautiful. It's really well run. Ben Griffin will steal all the ends, but he's a great race director. Yeah, it's a great time.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, it was my first 100.
Thanks for staying awake.
I'm sorry. I'm trying so hard.
You're doing great, Celeste.
Doing it though. You're doing it, Celeste. You're almost to the finish line.
You know what's going to happen,
Going,
right?
Celeste.
I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to, take the dogs to the bathroom. I'll go to bed, and then I'll be like wide awake.
Wait, we got to get you some caffeine bullets.
If I took caffeine right now, I wouldn't sleep until Sunday. So
Sunday.
So, did you see the weather for this weekend? It's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be 50s.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Maurice, what's up? What's up and coming? Anything big planned for next year, or what's what do you think?
I have the Chili Willy half marathon on January 1st that I do every year. I'll be celebrating my 8-year run streak with all my local friends. I'm in with the Herren project for the 2024 Boston Marathon. Very excited because they celebrate recovery and addiction awareness and all of that. So really excited about that. I have the Riverlands 100 in May of 2024. I have the Donna Marathon in February. That's in Jacksonville, Florida, with my very good friend Ted, Tommy, and my son Malik. And anything, and then I have Anchor Down in August. So anything that I can afford to register for and take time off of work and travel to, I try to sign up for. I would like to be going after more than one buckle this year coming up, like a handful of them. So that's the plan.
Right. Awesome. Wow, that's a great.
I'm in the lottery for Leadville. If you want to send me some positive vibes.
Okay,
nice. Good luck.
Very good.
That's a good book. By the way, getting in under 30 hours is a gold standard for at Daytona. Way to go in 29.
Thank you. Now it's time to shave off some time on those pit stops and become a little bit more efficient. I'm very grateful that my legs were moving quickly at the end. So that means that they say the biggest room is the room for improvement. So now it's time to go in there.
I was trying to remember my two friends who did that race, and one was Jess Mullen and the other was Jill Hudson. They were from Seattle. I don't know if you ran into them, but
I met Jill. That was her 64th 100 miler.
Yeah.
So she's awesome. We shared quite a few miles together.
Yeah, she does a lot of long distance running.
She came in just under an hour before me. And she was there at the finish when I finished. So she's trying to hit 100 milers as soon as possible. And she's already at 64.
Very good.
That's impressive.
Do we know how many people have hit 100s?
Well, there was a woman out there that was at 134 or something. It was a crazy number. Number.
I know. Catra's done over 100.
10 people
correct
are recognized as having done it. Maybe more, maybe like 15, but not that many.
Gotcha. Wow.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to start like doubling up.
Yeah.
Well, I was forgetting the race director's name. It's Bob Becker. That's
Bob Becker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I was thinking we should know that shit, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like a professional podcast here.
Yeah, and there's a guy Dave that helped create it with him, and they designed the course, and it's a phenomenal event. I can't wait to go back, and I'm looking forward to being a Keys participant one year.
Yeah, Keys sounds awesome, but this one does too. Yeah.
What was the temperature of Daytona?
So it got up to be almost 78 on Saturday, complete sun, and I love it. I really do. I embrace the heat. I love running in the heat as long as you're smart with hydration and ice and so forth. It was a beautiful, beautiful day, and then the lows were only low 60s, high 50s. I think I don't even know if it dipped into the high 50s. It was in the 50s at start, but then it warmed up, and then at nighttime it might have gotten into the low 60s.
Gotcha. And this is all exposed, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, completely. You're right out in the open. Yeah.
Oh. Wow. Those are the kind of days where I have one thing that I say during every run that I do, every long run that I do. And that's, I'll be so sad when this is over. And I usually try to find the time that I'm suffering the most, or that it's just and that's always my one thing I always say is that I'll be so sad when this is over.
That's a really good mindset, because there were some times where I was wishing that it was over, but I would have to remind myself that this is everything that I want. Like, it's flat, it's hot, it's fun. There's people watching. Like, come on, like this is everything that you want. So why would you want it to be over? Let's finish it.
Gotcha. I want to talk about that for just a second before we should probably wrap up pretty soon. But I find, and maybe you're the same way, like for whatever reason, I tend to run better when people are watching.
Absolutely. Maybe it's an ego thing. Maybe it's just, you don't want to. I love the idea that there was traffic whenever I was running. I loved it because I feel like when I'm running my local city streets, that kind of keeps me going. You never want to look like a slouch or a slacker when you're running. So especially in a race with the bib on, you don't want to look like you're slacking. So it definitely motivated me to keep it moving, because I knew there was always somebody around, whether they were paying attention or not.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because you know what? Maybe most of them probably aren't. Most of them probably don't give a shit. They're like, boy, I wonder how I look in my car today.
But there was this really cool point of the race where you're in St. Augustine and there's an active drawbridge, and you have to go over the bridge. Now, I had just gotten to it as it was going back down, but the traffic had built up waiting for it to go back down. So the bridge is going back down. There's a few runners ahead of me, and the people that were in traffic were looking on, and I got a few random thumbs up, people that were not associated with the race. And that just really, it really fuels me. And I mean, I love the idea. I mean, I'm the guy that's like, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing. So if somebody's giving me a thumbs up and a pat on the back, virtually from their car, then I love it, and I thrive off of that.
Awesome. And it's great because you do that in such you do the, hey, look at me, in such a humble way too.
Yeah, because I do. I realize I have that attitude. It's like, hey, look at me. But it's not just like, look what I'm doing and look what I did. It's like, look what you can do. Like, you can have so much fun with life. It doesn't have to be running marathons and ultras. It can just be, being a nicer person and holding doors and giving people compliments. And, like, it's always, I can't say it enough. Like, I'm the first to admit that I'm like always talking about myself, but I love humanity. I love people. I love life. I feel like, I spent a lot of time on the sidelines watching life pass me by. Now that I'm in it, I want to make the most out of it. And I want to be like that loud and proud, like, hey, it's not just always look at me. It's like, look what we have, look what we can do, look what we're a part of.
Yeah. That's the difference between, between the humble brags and the egos that you do see out. I mean, because you do see a lot of that stuff, but like, I definitely get that that's not your vibe in any way. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So
thank you for picking up on that, because I'm inspired by so many people, and I look up to so many people in this community. There was a woman, Karen, who came in 4th place by seconds at the Daytona 100. She runs for childhood cancer research. She's a sponsored athlete. She's a mom, and she's just super, super humble. And is never like, hey, I came in 4th place. Like, I beat everybody by 15 hours. Like, she would never be that person. And I'm like, wow, she beat me by like almost 15 hours. But so so it's cool. I'm inspired by so many people on social media, in the local run community. So to get positive feedback from people that I look up to is always rewarding as well.
Right on. That is awesome. And thank you for what you do out there. I think that, being positive in that way and helping others as you're doing that, giving that charge to other people is such a great thing. And it's a what kind of, I mean, can you imagine like a soccer game or a football game where they're like where they're, you're chasing down the other person and you're like, okay, go ahead, or like where you're cheering on the other. I mean, every once in a while you'll see like a soccer player applaud a goalie for making like incredible stop, like
right.
fucking, that was just ridiculous how you just stopped that. But like, that's so rare. But in our sport, it's like, it's kind of what we do. Right.
Exactly.
So
thank you so much for having me and for letting me yap your ears off for a while.
No, anytime, Maurice, we'd love to have you back on again. It's I can't wait to meet you out there sometime. We'll have to figure out where that is, but I'm sure that'll happen soon. So I just have a couple closing words for people, but first of all, Celeste or Fred, do you guys have any closing arguments?
No, just appreciate Maurice coming on.
Yeah, well,
thank you,
really
thank you, Sora. Thank you, Fred.
Yeah, it was great, Maurice. I was sincere in what I said. Your story really really touches people. I think.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So, thank you for supporting all the people out there. I love all the special effects here. I'll have to clip some of those.
I don't even know what I'm doing.
I know it's working though. It's working.
Yeah. So, as a reminder, we're 112% listener supported out there. So you're not going to hear any commercials for Booger Nutrition or, we still can't nail down our sponsorship with Canadian Trail Fishing Magazine or any of the other Trail Spanks. They've all kind of, they've all kind of abandoned us out there. So we are 112% listener supported. So if you'd like to become, a Patreon of the show, we have links in the show notes so everybody can look at that and give a click there. And we have Patreon only shows once a month, and that doesn't mean that nobody can listen to it. Okay, just like spoiler alert there. Those are shows where we talk nothing. We do nothing in the show except talk about our Patreons. So we read through our list of every single Patreon and kind of give you the updates and fuck up your names and as much as we possibly can. And just kind of find out. We kind of want to paddle your douche canoe for you. That's kind of what we're here for. So, if you've been out there, just the same energy that Maurice is putting out here, we want to put that energy out there for you. And you know what? Who knows? It's another way to become podcast famous too. So, and that sounds like, oh yeah, do this because it'll be good for your ego. No, it'll be cool because all of a sudden you're going to go to a fucking race and somebody's going to say, who? Oh, hi. What's your name? Oh, my name's Jamie. Jamie? Are you Jamie Myler? Or, or are you?
Of course, they'd find Jamie Myler on the podium, right? Are you Jamie Myler on sub 4, sub 9 on the podium?
So, I think by being a Patreon, it not only helps support our show and keeps us from having to go out and get sponsors and do all that, but it allows us to get to know who you guys are. And it's not just like yelling down what do we say, Fred? It's not like yelling down a well or a bucket or what? It's not like speaking up a silo. I don't know. Sitting in a smoke kiva.
All of the above.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So with that, again, thank you so much, Maurice, for joining us.
Thank you, Art.
To all of our listeners out there, if you've made it this far, of course, seek professional help. And I mean that tonight. If you heard the story tonight and it touched you, there is professional help out there.
Yes, there is.
AA, NA. There's I guess 211, right? You can call there, or is that
yes,
or is that dog poison control? Sorry. But seriously, there is professional help out there, and know that there is hope out there. That's, I think, one of the messages tonight is that there's definitely hope against the entropy out there. So, don't give it up. So, so seek professional help, and we will see you all in a mile
and a half.
All right.
Thank you, Celeste. Thank you, Art. Thank you, Fred.
You got it.
Thank you,
Pleasure,
Maurice.
man.
It's great having you.
Really. Thank you.
All right.
What's art? Oh, 8-ball.
I got to get the 8-ball. So I need a good question for the 8-ball tonight. Hold it. Am I finally done with my cold?
Not likely.
My sources say no.
Oh,
okay. Fucking bad idea asking the 8-ball, right?
yeah. What does that 8-ball know anyway?
I mean, God. Okay. Well, that's great. That's great. Now I've lost my voice. So there you go. Perfect. Perfect timing. Oh, that's awesome. How did you do that?
I know. I'm like, that's better than your mustache.
Are you talking about the fireworks?
Yeah.
It's something new with. Wow, look at that.
I wonder if I get that.
There's some new feature on the iPhone. Update. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And if you do certain hand gestures, you get certain graphics. I haven't mastered it yet.
I like it. I'm going to start doing that during depositions. I'll ask a question and then go like,
yeah. That's right. Okay, so we better get this going here. So, let's see. Maurice,
what episode are we?
We are. Excuse me, as I'm losing my voice here.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight, people. Thank
Celeste is all drugged up. I lost my voice. Fred has friends over. So
I have friends over. Yeah.
Fred's Hollywood now. So I'm surprised you don't have fucking sunglasses, Fred.
Get the film crew going.
Yeah. I should have put my sunglasses on.
Okay. Cinnamon buns. Okay.